Here with the next session on neurosteroids. The session will be shared by Dr. Vijay Chandra on current understanding on neurosteroids and inflammatory markers in schizophrenia by Dr. K. Raman. We have as chairpersons K.S. Ravikumar sir and Dr. Rahavendra Nayak sir. Okay. Welcome to the dais, sir. Rahavendra Nayak sir will be joining on online. He's online. He's over there.
Hello, thank you. I thank the organizing team for giving me the opportunity to be the chairperson. And I also like to apologize that I'm not able to attend in person due to personal reasons. So I welcome the speakers. Thank you.
Very good evening. In this session, we have two interesting presentations. One is neurosteroids current understanding by Dr. Vijay Chandran Reddy. The second one is inflammatory markers in schizophrenia by Dr. K. Raman. The first one, I call upon Dr. Vijay Chandran Reddy. He is additional professor of psychiatry, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Mangalagiri, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. Over to Dr. Vijay Chandran Reddy.
Good afternoon, sir. Today I'll be presenting on neurosteroids. The thing is, when I was studying my undergraduate entire brain, wherever you go into any Purkinje cell, the main thing is acetylcholine, and it is modulated by GABA and other modulators to control the activity of the brain. So it's something like you are driving a bicycle, you are driving a motorbike at a very high speed and controlling it with a brake. So the brake is equally important as other components. So in this context, I want to tell you that GABA is the very important neuron that you are able to sit in this room without jumping. So if there are no GABA neurons in your body, all might have been under the activation of acetylcholine and have not been able to sit stably in the room. So why the context of neurosteroids came into. So the neurosteroids concept has been coined by Etienne Bluro. So what are neurosteroids? So the neurosteroids are those steroids that are present in the brain or synthesized by adrenal gland. So to understand that concept, the two terms were coined. One is neurosteroids and neuroactive steroids. Neuroactive steroids are those steroids that come from the peripheral glands and cross the blood-brain barrier and act on their GABAergic receptors and show their function. Whereas neurosteroids are locally synthesized and they act on their own places. So then the concept, how to identify neurosteroids. The entire system to build up neurosteroids like P450 side cleavage chain, which is very important, and STAR-D protein, which moves in the cholesterol into the mitochondrial membrane, is present in most of the neuronal cells. Apart from few places in the brain, every part in the brain can synthesize neurosteroids. And the concentration of the neurosteroids in certain places of the brain, like basal ganglia, basal ganglia is very high. And whenever they tested with anti-serum of allopregnanolone and THDOC, they showed high concentration in the cell bodies. And neurosteroids themselves in an autocrine fashion, whenever there is a required in the brain, they are synthesized more, and when the requirement is less, the synthesis falls down. So steroid acute regulatory protein P450 side cleavage chain proteins are very important. They co-localize, and they are highly present in the hippocampus, hypothalamus, and cerebellum. So astrocytes, spinal cord neurons, and dorsal root ganglia also have, and immature oligodendrocytes also have the STAR protein and P450 side cleavage chain protein. So this image is very important. So this is the mitochondrial thing of the cell, and this cholesterol is transported by starch protein, and when it goes inside, this protein is cleaved off. That 18 kilodalton point part is removed, and it's converted into pregnenolone. And pregnenolone is the first rate limiting step. And after that, 17 hydroxylase and 3 beta hydroxylase. So if it stops here, the down part is not very important. So what is more important is 5-alpha reductase. Any steroid that is transformed using 5-alpha reductase will result in a neuroactive steroid. So 5-alpha reductase is a very important part of this whole chain. So when 5-alpha reductase, so for example, if mice, most of our information we get is from mice. So when mice that are knocked out from star proteins do not have the neurosteroid effects. So these are all the neurosteroids: estradiol, pregnenolone, DHEA, allopregnanolone. So what they do? So this is just a summary of previous slide. So you have to observe all these are alphas. So alphas are those that act on the hydroxylase chains. Hydroxylase chains that see, cholesterol is a 3-ring benzene ring, has 3 benzene ring, and the thing that are formed are allopregnanolone, DHDO, THDOC, androstenediol. These act on GABA receptors. Stress, susceptibility, anxiety, and depression are reduced. So let me just briefly mention the names. One is the most thing I'm in the entire presentation. If I'm speaking, if I don't mention any other name, then I'm speaking about allopregnanolone. So progesterone, tetrahydro, what we call THDOC, tetrahydrodeoxycorticosterone, pregnenolone, pregnenolone sulfate, isopregnenolone, estrogen, dihydroepiandrosterone, DHEA sulfate, and vitamin D. You need to understand vitamin D is also now considered to be a neurosteroid. So how do they function? Actually, see, the barbiturate and benzodiazepine sites are located on alpha beta subunits of the GABA receptor. It's not very long. When I was doing my PG, we used to think that there is no receptor for alcohol. So alcohol has no receptor, not in PG, in undergraduate. Alcohol changes the membrane permeability, it increases the solubility, so it goes. So as of now, there is no correct receptor found where it binds. People believe that it is binding on the this site in the conjunction of the gamma and beta site, or the receptor may be in the inner side of the plasma membrane. So the binding is thought to be on the intracellular side of the receptor or at the side of the neural plasma membrane. So these neurosteroids have a mechanism of action called biphasic. At a very low concentration, sorry, it's not biphasic. Biphasic is used for another word. At very low concentration, they modulate. So when GABA binds to a receptor, they enhance the flow of the chloride across the channels. At very high concentration, they themselves act like GABA on the receptors. They themselves open the channel and increase the flow of chlorides. So this is the enhanced image. So currently people are thinking the neurosteroid site may exist here or on the internal side of this one. So neurosteroids, in this there are two groups. One is sulfated group, another is non-sulfated group. Sulfated group non-sulfated group includes allopregnanolone, THDOC, and androstenediol. These are positive modulators, and sulfated include DHEAs and pregnenolone sulfates. These are negative modulators. They decrease the GABA effect. So they act in an autocrine fashion on the receptors. They do. So what's the extra difference between the GABA or benzodiazepine and the neurosteroids? So when the GABA binds to the neuroreceptor, it causes a phasic inhibitory potential that later desensitizes and closes the brain. Once its action is done, it is gone. Whereas neurosteroids tend to bind to the receptors and cause a prolonged tonic phase. So they keep the membrane for a prolonged period open. And the current research as of today, it is believed the effective psychological actions of neurosteroid is because of this tonic inhibition of the GABA receptors and their extensive action on the extrasynaptic receptors. See, these are the receptors just opposite to the where GABA is released, and these are the receptors just far away, extrasynaptic receptors. And these receptors also play an important role. The current flow is duration increased, so the potential doesn't reach. Desensitization is delayed. So what are the effect of neurotransmitters? So whatever we have, most of the literature is not on the humans, it's of the rats and mice, and the human trials are still in some way in the phase 2, phase 3. So whereas considered to serotonin, allopregnanolone decreases the firing of the serotonin receptors. Estrogen causes increased number of serotonin 2A receptors. Sigma-1, a chaperone receptor. A chaperone receptor is one that moves the receptor from one side to another. So it regulates the calcium flow. So pregnenolone sulfate and DHA sulfate, there is one test that stimulates stress in humans. That's called forced swim test. That is done in the mice where they are forced to swim in water and concentrations of neurosteroids are measured. So pregnenolone sulfate and DHA sulfate tend to produce same reaction that is caused by the forced swim test. So what is one test is called a human triage social test. So in human triage social test, what happens is the interviewer sits with the person and just talks in a common, and in between the talk, he introduces a mathematical question that he is creating an artificial stress. So when allopregnanolone and progesterone is given, that stress is decayed. There is decreased response to that stress. So its initial level, it shows that allopregnanolone is helpful in these people. So one of the molecule that is in the human use is ganaxolone. That's a 5-alpha pregnane. It has completed phase 1 and phase 2 studies, and it's helpful in the current problem they are searching with use in refractory epilepsy. So refractory epilepsy, it is in the phase 3. As per the latest thing, it has been completed the phase 3. And it has been developed by Marinus Pharma. And the approval may come in the March 2022. So, and catamenial epilepsy. Catamenial epilepsy is an important thing where women suffer from epileptic episodes during the pre, peri, and post-menstrual period. So, there was no much improvement in the use of ganaxolone, but post-hoc analysis, it showed that patients administered with ganaxolone during the perimenopausal, pericatamenial epilepsy had a very good improvement. So that is also one area where neurosteroids can play an important role. So premenstrual dysphoric disorder, so it's because of fluctuating level of allopregnanolone. That is what happens when you make presentation on Word and transfer it to Apple. That is, so Dunstride has its action through 5-alpha. I told you one thing is 5-alpha reductase inhibition. 5-alpha is an important enzyme in production of neurosteroids. So this 5-alpha reductase has one of the problem in using the neurosteroids is the blood-brain barrier carrier. They will cross, but when they have to cross the liver also. So while crossing the liver, most of the neurosteroids administered through mouth undergo first pass metabolism, and this neurosteroid crosses the blood-brain barrier and has limited first pass metabolism. So alcohol use disorder. So when alcohol is given to rats, there is 700% increase in the allopregnanolone. So finasteride is an alpha reductase inhibitor. When it is given, it reduces the production of allopregnanolone, and there was no response to the alcohol given. So when finasteride 5-alpha reductase inhibitor is given, it has decreased the number of heavy drinking episodes. So whether we agree or we do not agree, one step in alcohol treatment is stopping the alcohol completely. And second goal is reasonable use. Third goal is preventing harmful use. So at least when we can find a drug that decreases number of heavy drinking episodes, that would be very useful. So Alzheimer's disease also, allopregnanolone has showed successful rates of dendritic growth in neurons, but the same has not been replicated in human trials. So it's still in phase 2, and the company that started the trial has even dropped the trial, and it's no longer continuing. So neurosteroids in Alzheimer's disease has not yet been completely evaluated. So traumatic brain injury and PTSD is one thing where we have very good evidence of neurosteroids. So neurosteroids given to US war veterans who are suffering from a post-traumatic stress disorder, when they were compared with a placebo in the trial, they did not show any improvement. But when the analysis was done in a clinician administered PTSD scale, they showed decrease in the profile D symptoms. Profile D symptoms include anger, sleep, hypervigilance, and irritability. So when they have a good reduction in anger and increase in sleep, less hypervigilance, irritability, see, most of the psychiatric prescriptions are do have 1 or 2 or 3 drugs. So one drug may not be helpful to all the symptoms of the patient. So maybe one day allopregnanolone will become a part to improve the sleep. So additional phase 2 trials are in the phase, and there is one more trial that is going on about traumatic brain injury. Traumatic brain injury includes any accidents. When people undergo accident, so immediate infusion of allopregnanolone IV is thought to impair the decrease the ischemic damage to the brain neuronal cells. So bipolar depression, in mania there is no evidence, but in bipolar depression there is a depression scores reduction has been seen in the HAM-D scale. So there are minimal side effects burden, and it's almost going to get approved in the bipolar depression. So steroids in schizophrenia. So schizophrenia steroids decrease the neurotoxicity and reduce the negative symptoms. They enhance the stability of microtubules and polymerization of neurotic growth. So one of the concepts that is thought is, although schizophrenia is not considered to be a very neurodegenerative disorder, but those who have more degenerative changes in the brain develop more negative symptoms. And there are 8 studies that have been reviewed. Only 3 studies where DHEA and pregnenolone as a add-on was used showed improvement in the negative symptoms. So this is also alfaxolone, although it doesn't come into psychiatric concept, just I have bought it because it's a neurosteroid. It was currently in the market for human use, but because of its side effects caused by its carrier, it was removed. Now the company has brought up with another water-soluble carrier in the name of Faxon. So Faxon is a general anesthesia inducing agent with minimal side effects and safety respiratory profile and less time to recovery. So this may be in the market by the next March. It's almost completed the phase 3 trial. Now it has to go into the phase 4 trials. So this one is very important. It's not in India, but it's in US. The company says you can feel better in 2.5 days with Julreso. So Julreso has been, IV formulation has been approved in postpartum pregnancy. So in postpartum pregnancy, a 5 mg per 10 ml vial is given. So at a dose of say 60 mg, so it should be administered under the strict ICU settings, and side effects include dry mouth and sedation. Company has reported 2 adverse side effects that include suicidal thoughts also. And it is presently approved in US market, and it can be given by trained health practitioner in using this drug. So this is IV formulation for postpartum depression. So this Sage Therapeutics, most of the neurosteroids are under the pipeline of Sage Therapeutics. Zuranolone is another Branaxolone. It comes in 20 mg and 30 mg capsules. It is approved for use only on like the doctor has to write to the company and the company gives. On that basis, it is approved. Risk evaluation and mitigation strategy, and it has shown a meaningful decrease in the HAM-D scores and good reductions compared to placebo. The trial is primarily for postpartum depression, and it has been shown to be effective. CH324, I tried to get the name, but I could not get the name. It has been tried in the Parkinson's disease. So one of the main indications why it has been tried is to treat the tremor in the Parkinson's disease. So it showed a significant decrease in the TETRA scale. TETRA scale is a scale that is used to measure tremors in the upper limb and lower limb. So phase 2 trials are completed, and because of its low improvement, the company itself has commented that it may not come through the phase 3 trials. And Branaxolone has completed phase 3 trials in acute respiratory distress syndrome due to COVID. And phase 3 trials are completed as per Sage report, and it's available for use in the post-COVID syndrome and management of acute respiratory distress syndrome during COVID also. Many neurosteroids, what are the challenges? Why? See, it has been always a challenge to develop ideal drug. Ideal antibiotic has always been a challenge. Ideal sleeping aid has always been challenge. So all when we go through literature, when we go search and find all neurosteroids appear to be very ideal, and even in the mice studies, they have sedative effects, and they don't cause the addiction potential also. But what the way we give to the mice, we can't give to the human beings. Usually mice are given in peritoneal infusion or intrathecally. So whatever a drug that has to succeed, it has to go through the mouth. Many times even one antipsychotic has come sublingually. It has gone out of the market because of poor compliance. So like that, all the neurosteroids that go through the mouth undergo first pass metabolism. Now we need to find the way to circumvent that first pass metabolism. And all neurosteroids also have one effect called biphasic effect. So for example, allopregnanolone when given in low steroids acts as a GABA. So when it is given as high doses, it acts as a GABA antagonist. Then the finding of right dose of allopregnanolone will always be a challenge. So why finding of right dose is, for example, if you give risperidone, drawing blood levels from the people and finding the blood levels will be easy. But allopregnanolone is synthesized in the brain. is also synthesized by the adrenal cortex, and you also give it. Who is contributing to which dose is always difficult to find out. So, difficulty in measurement, and neurosteroids often metabolize when given. The end products often end up into estrogen and testosterone. And you always need to be very careful when these are given to the people who are susceptible to hormone-sensitive tumors like breast cancer or testicular cancer, which are sensitive to that tumors. There is always a caution. So with this, I end my presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Vijay Chandran Reddy, for the excellent presentation. Recent focus on neurosteroids have yielded very promising results. I'm sure that it will be a major revolution if the neurosteroids are being used properly into the treatment of various psychiatric disorders. Sir, Ravindra sir.
Yes. Neurosteroids, usually we don't come across these topics regularly, like the routinely in the PG teaching and all, because these are the newer things and which are there at still at investigational level. Although there is initial false results or initially whatever they are developed, they are not showing a good results. But there is a lot of scope, because as we know that all the available medicines, only the 40% of the people will improve with the currently available medicine, and there is a lot of scope for newer medicines. And one of the target could be this one, like the neurosteroids or this pathway. Because as we know that the main action of these neurosteroids, either the natural or synthetic one, is through the GABA system. And most of the psychiatric disorders have the dysfunction in GABAergic system, which could be one of the factors why we should go ahead with further investigation in this area. So other thing is mainly the research has been done in a way of to identify newer neurosteroids and seeing its effect. So my one more concern is whether these the naturally available neurosteroid inside our body, whether they can be used as some markers. So markers for the anxiety disorders or the depressive disorder, whether they can predict any improvement or the prognosis. That is one more area where the research can throw some light. So that's about the neurosteroids, and it appears promising in future, like the studies on this. So I request the audience, if someone has questions.
Questions from the audience? Okay, shall we move on to the next topic? Thank you, Dr. Vijay Chandran Reddy.